Good afternoon guys, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to some club testing today. In theory, these three clubs should go the same distance, but should potentially will have totally different ball flight. Today guys, we're talking 7-wood hybrid and a 3 rescue or a 3 utility iron. 3 different clubs that you might use at your golf club. 3 clubs you might have in your bag, but it's choosing the right one for you. These clubs, like we've said there, should go the same distance. How they get there is going to be different. How they're going to land, how they're going to run out are totally different. So what we're going to do now guys, first of all, before we hit some shots out here, we're going to jump in the studio, we're going to hit some balls, we're going to get some numbers, and then we're going to test them out to this flag at around about 215 yards. Right guys, so we're going to get the numbers now inside. So I'm going to start off with the 7-wood. So 7-wood again is the club, as we'll see outside and we'll see after this, is going to be the one that launches the highest potentially. So we're going to get a higher flight, and this is for somebody who needs a little bit more height, wants a little bit carry. This might be a club that you're hitting into a couple of par 3s at your golf club. It might not be one that you're hitting into par 5s, but it's certainly a club to have in your golf bag if it might suit you for par 3s. You've seen the 3 different profiles. It's all about which looks the best when it's stood behind the ball. So does it look too big? Do you not have the confidence? And what you also need to think about is what kind of angle of attack are you? Do you hit more down onto the golf ball where you might be better off with something like a hybrid or the utility 3-iron? That's what you've got to think about when you're buying these clubs. It's not just buying one, it has to suit your swing. So I'm going to hit 5 with each club, and then we're going to have a look at the data. So here I've got the Paradigm Hybrid, so we're going to give this a go now. Set at the same loft, so 21 degrees. I'm going to hit 5 same shots. We're going to start to see, again, distance-wise and dispersion-wise, we've got that on the screen. So we're going to start to see, right, which one am I more consistent with? Which one is starting better and having less curvature, which we know is down to a little bit of pilot error, so a little bit of technique. But which one to you looks better over the golf ball? I've not used a hybrid for a long time. The reason being, I don't always like the look of it. I don't feel as confident out of the rough with this club. It doesn't always work as good as something like a 7-wood for me. So last up now, we're testing the utility iron. So let's see, it was very interesting there with the hybrid, and the numbers will all be on screen. So you will see that dispersion was just as good, but also distance-wise it was pretty good. But for me, it was mainly, I found the centre of the face a little bit more with the hybrid, which I wouldn't have expected. I haven't hit a hybrid for a long time. I've been mainly using a 7-wood, but that has surprised me. So it's always worth trying those clubs because it might be a club that now goes into my bag. So looking at the numbers there, we can see very interesting. We can see clearly the Srixon flight, so the 3-iron utility, a lot lower trajectory. But once we look at the hybrid and the 7-wood, very similar trajectory, and regarding numbers, again, the hybrid was actually carrying a little bit further, so we was hitting that around about 218 yards carry, running out a little bit further to 234, whereas the 7-wood was stopping a little bit quicker. Again, spin rate was up with the 7-wood. It was actually launching low, but spinning a little bit more, so costing it a little bit of distance. We can then see the big difference is with the spin rate on the 3-iron, so launching a lot lower, coming out at 10 degrees launch. We've also got that landing at 216 yards and running out a little bit further. Exactly what we would expect from that kind of club. So let's get back out onto the tee. Let's hit a couple of shots out there and talk about where it would be good, what kind of golf courses or what kind of conditions you'd want these 3 different clubs. So you'll see that in the numbers, very interesting. As we'd expect, they all pretty much go the same distance. So the one that carried the least amount was the 7-wood. Again, a little bit more spinning. did launch lower but spun up, so it obviously didn't carry as much, but that's something that you might have going into a par 3. If you're a longer hitter, if you have more club head speed, it might be a club you use into par 5s. Again, a very surprising club was the hybrid there. The furthest carrying distance-wise was good, but for me, I got a lot more centered strikes from the hybrid, and it's a golf club that I haven't tested or used probably in the last nearly 10 years. It's not a club that I did like, but it was the favoured one, the best strikes in the studio. But now we're going to put that to the test. So I'm going to start with a 7-wood. Again, as we all know, if you do watch the channel, a 7-wood is something that I've had for a long time. It is one of my favourite golf clubs. So this is a new Ping 430 7-wood. So newer than my classic G10. So let's see how it goes here. First one up, 7-wood. A little bit out to the right hand side of the green. Launched pretty low again, but quite spinny. So exactly what we saw inside. So let's bring another one in now. I'll go 2 with each. Again, you've got to think about what kind of golf club you are playing at, what kind of course you play, and again, conditions wise, are you getting a lot of wind out there? Are you somewhere in a tree line golf course? This might be a club that works a little bit better. Less wind, less effects from that. If you're out on the links golf course, again, you might be favouring towards something like that 3-iron we've got there, the Srixon 3-iron, launching a little bit lower, staying out of the elements and getting more, well, a little bit more carry, but more run, and staying out of the conditions that are going to affect that more so.
Sorry to interrupt Chris quickly, but I think this is probably the most versatile club of the lot of them, because it's a lot easier to try and hit the 7-wood low than it is to hit the driving iron high.
Yeah, exactly. We wouldn't be able to get that really high. We'd have to do a lot of manipulation, but I've certainly found, and the reason why I've had a 7-wood in my bag for a long time is because of that workability. I'll be very interested when we get onto the hybrid shortly. Can I play one in a little bit lower? Because as we saw in the studio, launching very similar, and again, peak height's very much the same. Can I have a little bit more workability? Because with the shorter shaft in the hybrid, I certainly found the centre of the face a little bit more. That's certainly the case on the first one there. So that is a much better fly. Again, launched a little bit low there. And that's gone to probably around about 25-30 feet, James?
Yeah, that actually sat really nicely as well. I anticipated that might cannon off, but it's just at the... give me a second, Chris, I'll take my mitt off because it's freezing.
It is very cold out
and it's
here
just
today.
at the back edge of the green there. It sat quite quickly, probably into an upslope, but still... it did the job, didn't it? I don't think the driving iron would have sat that quickly.
No, it did the job there, and that's the point, but we can get it to launch a little bit lower, so if we needed to play that ball flight, we might be able to do that with a 7-wood, and like James mentioned, trying to play a high shot with that 3-iron, maybe not the shot you'd want to play, and you'd very much struggle to achieve that. So hybrid, so far, is actually a favourite of mine out of the 3 that we've tested today. Again, a better strike, launch very similar to the 7-wood, and James can go in there. I mean, they're next.
I've tried, mate.
I
don't know if this is like a Nokia 3210, but it's terrible quality. I'll try again. No, it's there though. We can see it.
It's not the newest of phones, James. I do apologise, but very easy to get that ball launching in towards my target. It does feel a little bit more comfortable with a shorter shaft. So launched a bit higher there. Very similar, so out to the right again. Wasn't as spinny as the 7-wood, but out on the right hand side of the greens. If we're talking those two, very similar shots there, but it certainly felt a lot easier with the hybrid than it did with the 7-wood, which I am surprised at. And it's one of those clubs when you go for fittings, and we'll have mid-handicap Dave on here doing a similar test with these, because Dave's wanted to see which one will be best for him. And it's about not counting one out. I've not had a hybrid for a long time. I haven't really tested them, so I've kind of been very close-minded to that. But using that today has been a big surprise that so far it's probably my favourite. Now already with this club I'm starting to think it's going to be very hard to get this to stop on the green, and this is where, if you're hitting into longer par 4s and you're using such a club, you're going to start to feel, can I hold the green, or should I try and manipulate something else? We're already thinking this club might not be the one for the job, and it's certainly going to be tough on this green.
Great strike.
Good strike, a strong ball flight there. Landed just on the right hand side of the green, but again it's ran through the back. It's ran like we saw with the numbers inside. It's got a lot more run on it. Landing around about the same. We saw inside the average was a 219 carry, which was very similar to the hybrid, but it ran out a little bit further, which is exactly what we'd expect from this club. So it's going to be very hard on your par 3s if you've got long par 3s, but if you play links golf and it's something that you use off the tee, it would be a fantastic club for that. And that's one there, that's a prime example. I've tried to move that forwards in my stance and try and manipulate one, and it's come out low and right. So the total opposite of what I've tried to play, but instantly I'm trying to play something different with that club. And that's the main point we're getting out of these. You've got to think, what golf club are you playing at? Which one's going to be the most suitable for you? But try and test them all out, because so far I'm going to consider putting a hybrid in my bag. I'm going to test it against a couple more hybrids in coming weeks, but I also want to get these in the hands of mid-handicap Dave to see which one he favours. We know he's using a hybrid at the moment. Would a 7 would be something he goes for, or maybe for Garforth there's a couple of short par 4s. Would a driving iron be something that he can use, get down there and be a bit more confident with? So guys, hopefully you've enjoyed that. Hopefully that's something you're going to consider putting into your golf bag, one of these 3. Comment below, what do you have in your bag at the moment, and we'll see you again later in the week.